I watched her documentary before she ever became big. I think I seen it on PBS on Channel 13. You can tell she was a rough. She had anger problems. She was not ladylike. She was nigger boy, tomboy. Nah, and she, nigga, she went through the process and corrected what needed to be corrected to represent what a champ is. She ain't no Layla Ali. None of our new youth are what our old stars used to be. They got their own mind, they got their own identity. So nah, man, homie, they picking on Claressa. And can't nobody whoop her. So
get ready, because what you're about to hear isn't speculation, an opinion, or some messy internet gossip. Listen to this. This is the point where the entire story finally snaps into focus. When Charleston White spoke, he didn't rant, yell, or make a spectacle. He simply put the truth on the table. That silence everyone mistook for loyalty, it ended up being the loudest admission of all. For years, the public saw a flawless image, a champion, a power couple, a love story wrapped in fame, money, and applause. But hold up, Charleston White calmly asked the questions nobody else was brave enough to say out loud. What if this was never love to begin with? What if the whole thing was carefully orchestrated? What if image mattered more than what was actually real? He didn't go on the attack. He didn't scream for attention. Instead, he chose a move that hit way harder. He connected the dots. He reminded people that Claressa Shields didn't start polished or praised. She was raw, intense, unfiltered, and had to be molded not just into a champion, but into a brand that couldn't afford disorder, a brand that couldn't survive questions or doubt. And that's when the energy of the story shifts. While cameras stayed locked in on boxing wins, something else was quietly running the show behind closed doors. Money, image, security, and power. Standing beside her wasn't just a significant other, it was a gatekeeper. Someone whose silence wasn't accidental, it was calculated, deliberate, and strategic. Charleston White never directly accused anyone. He let the pattern speak for itself. He let the silence say everything. All of a sudden, the relationship people praised started to feel less like romance and more like a controlled setup. Because real love doesn't need this level of control, secrecy, or calculation. When love is genuine, it isn't managed like a corporate deal with fine print and expiration dates. And from this point forward, everything about Claressa Shields and Papoose hits different.
Claressa Shields wants to have babies with Papoose while he's still married to Remy Ma.
They gonna look like African kids, Ugandan babies. Yeah. They ain't gonna know if them babies Nigerian, Jamaican, or Haitian. But they gonna have some pretty chocolate skin. Don't know if their hair gonna be too straight or wavy. They may have African hair. But they sure gonna be nigga kids. Yeah. They gonna be some smart kids that know how to fight.
What made this moment hit so hard wasn't Charleston White raising his voice. It wasn't about theatrics, chaos, or shock value. It was the calm, almost surgical way he spoke, as if he were highlighting what everyone else chose to overlook. This wasn't a rant or a blow-up. It was a reframing of the entire situation, a new lens that forced people to rethink what they thought they understood. And once that lens clicked, the narrative around Charleston White, Claressa Shields, and Papoose slowly started coming apart at the seams. Charleston never challenged Claressa's talent or her accomplishments. He questioned the ecosystem surrounding her. He never denied her greatness. Instead, he focused on how tightly that greatness had been curated and shielded. He made the case that in today's celebrity culture, the real danger isn't failure, it's immunity. When someone becomes too important to question, when scrutiny feels off limits, that's when control really sets in. He pointed out something most fans completely missed. Claressa's rise wasn't only about grind, discipline, or skill. It was about refinement, image maintenance, and narrative control. Not because she couldn't stand on her own, but because the brand attached to her couldn't afford unpredictability. The public saw dominance and wins. Behind the curtain, though, every fight, every move, every appearance was carefully mapped out. What looked organic and raw was actually measured down to the detail. Then Charleston shifted attention away from the ring and onto the people closest to Claressa, the ones shaping access, influence, and perception. That's where Papoose enters the picture. He's not just a love interest, he's a stabilizer in the storyline. He doesn't need to be loud or aggressive, but his role is steady, quiet, and impactful. Charleston never said Papoose controlled Claressa. Instead, he explained a more nuanced dynamic. The person who protects you from criticism also decides what criticism reaches you. In situations like that, silence isn't accidental, it's intentional. And relationships like this begin to feel less like romance and more like alignment. Charleston suggested the partnership was practical. Claressa needed stability, credibility, and insulation from chaos. Papoose needed relevance, proximity to power, and visibility. Together, they didn't just look strong, they looked untouchable. And in an industry where image is currency, safety becomes power. He even brought Remy Ma into the discussion. Her absence, he implied, wasn't random, it was incompatibility. She didn't fit into a system that required quiet compliance. She spoke up, challenged narratives, and refused to be molded. And when a system can't manage someone, that person usually gets removed. Charleston didn't accuse anyone outright. He laid out patterns. Some voices get elevated, others fade out, and stories shift not because facts change, but because certain narratives are more convenient. By the end of it, Claressa wasn't just a fighter anymore. She was an asset, a protected image. And that lingering question, why Papoose never defended himself, why he never publicly confronted anything, finally had an answer. It wasn't emotion, it was a strategy, and the calm precision in Charleston's words permanently changed how the public viewed it all. What once looked like love now felt deliberate, calculated, and tightly controlled.
Papoose, and this is why I say that. You ain't never heard no hoe come out and say nothing bad about him first. Even when his hoe was doing wrong, he wasn't running to the internet bashing him. And he don't speak much. He's a man of silence, so that means his words are important to him. I done seen him get with two women, and it seemed like he brought the best out of both women. Yeah, I don't know too many niggas that go hold their girl down there.
That silence wasn't about being innocent. Charleston White framed it as discipline. And listen, discipline, as he laid it out, is often confused for virtue. When someone never responds publicly, people assume nothing's wrong. But hold up, sometimes that quiet exists because they understand restraint better than anyone in the room. Charleston then dug into what happens when careers hit their ceiling, but personal identity stays stagnant. When the spotlight cools off, the quickest shortcut back is standing close to influence. He never said Papoose exploited Claressa. He said opportunity always shows up for those positioned to receive it. When one person needs stability and the other needs access, the world labels it love because strategy doesn't sell well. Claressa's life, in his view, slowly evolved. Less boxing, more branding. Less danger, more protection. He also aimed at the industry, asking why so many voices screaming empowerment suddenly go quiet when it actually counts. Silence at that level isn't neutral, it's participation. Control doesn't crash loudly, it slides in quietly, dressed up as loyalty, protection, or even love. Repeated injuries turn vulnerability into a commodity, and dependence starts to feel normal. The people closest to you stop being optional support and become necessities. Charleston wasn't pointing fingers at villains, he was breaking down incentives. Modern public relationships, he argued, often operate like contracts. Who brings value? who offers protection, who provides access, who absorbs risk. Love in that framework turns into leverage, stability, or insurance. And he made one thing very clear. This isn't dysfunction or collapse, it's efficiency, intentional, calculated, and built to manage power, money, and image.
Makes more money than him, similar to Remy Ma. So would you consider him a gold digger?
No. A player ain't never been a gold digger. That nigga's a player. Nigga, that smooth player, nigga. Yeah. Now, man, now, you always supposed to play for the bank. My grandmama told me if a woman really like you, it ain't nothing she won't do for you. Well, grandmama, how you know if she really like you? She'll give you her money.
That line didn't hit softly because it flipped how we think about generosity on its head. Charleston White wasn't arguing that money can purchase love. He was saying love often shows up through access and resources. When someone moves freely through your time, energy, or finances without pushback, it quietly exposes where the real power sits, whether you catch it or not. He zoomed the conversation out, pointing out that the public's obsession with who makes more money misses the real issue entirely. Who controls the narrative? Who decides what the audience gets to see and what stays locked away? Who understands when talking helps and when silence is the smarter move? In that kind of setup, silence becomes its own form of currency. Quiet people aren't powerless, they're calculated. Loud people scorch bridges. Controlled voices run the room. Charleston then brought Remy Ma back into the conversation, not emotionally, but structurally. She symbolized unpredictability. She spoke her mind, challenged storylines, and didn't fit into a system that demanded polished image control. And in industries addicted to control, unpredictability turns into a threat. So when she was pushed out, it wasn't about feelings, it was about removing risk. He explained that relationships built on usefulness don't explode publicly, they simply run out. Once the value shifts, or the system no longer needs a gatekeeper, silence loses its power, and small cracks start telling the truth. He connected this to physical and emotional wear. Constant injuries, non-stop scrutiny, and exhaustion make reliance feel natural. When someone manages your entire environment, dependence starts to feel comfortable, even necessary. Charleston reframed marriage and partnerships as agreements, not fairy tales. If relationships are treated like pure emotion, they collapse under pressure. But when they're built like obligations, they weather storms. He suggested a lot of celebrity relationships operate exactly this way, strategic, efficient, and engineered to manage power, image, and influence. Love, when it exists, turns into leverage. Silence isn't disloyalty, it's protocol. And when the system stops serving its purpose, the truth seeps out quietly, exposing a pattern that was never built to last.